Glad. All right, give me just a second. I want to see if the ideas I'm conveying can be made into a cool acronym. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. Um, okay. Hello, everyone. We're talking about making and receiving offers today, but I want to know all of your names before we do anything else. So just tell me, I want to hear your name. I want to hear how long you've been in real estate and or at Keller Williams, and then anything else you care to say about yourself, be it entertaining or professional or pointless. All of those are fully acceptable. My name is Cavan Helps. I've been in real estate and with Keller Williams for 10 years. I'm right smack in the middle of the production level you see here. I'm never top level and I'm never bottom level. Just, oh, in 2020, I did top 20%. And the TL brought me aside and said, hey, do you want to start teaching classes? Like, I've been teaching classes for 3 years, but sounds great. I'm a big nerd. I'm really into Star Wars, Dungeons and Dragons. Anything you picture nerds doing, I probably do that, except being smart. I missed that one. So that's me. So let's just move here, and then I'm going to write down your names and get to know all of you. So tell me. Okay. Thank you. I was about to ask, so that's perfect. Uh-huh. Nice. Nice. So how do you refer to yourself as half Hawaiian? Half Hawaiian? Half Hawaiian. I am the child of two South Africans. And so I call myself South African, although I'm an American citizen, and my children are half Africans. So you're welcome to steal. All right.
I am John Goetti. I am just now starting. This is my third month. I started in December. I'm not a singer. And I am a musician. I play keyboards and I play blues harmonica. And I just recently joined the band again. So having fun with that.
What kind of band?
It's well, there's two of them. The same people, they're professional musicians, so they have a classic rock covers band, but we're going to be starting a tribute to Latina singers band.
Nice.
So like Shakira, Selena, I forget who that other one is, Gloria Estefan, stuff like that.
Very cool.
We'll be doing a tribute because
And you're the lead singer.
yeah.
That's very cool. Latina tribute band. I don't know why I'll need that written down, but it's written. All right, back here in the blue and amber vest, caramel vest. I don't know what to call that color.
And Ashley, and I've been here Carly.
Nice, welcome. Sorry, say that last part again.
I'm still working as a recruiter.
For KW or?
No, healthcare company.
Nice. I might have follow-up questions about that later, but they're not relevant to the class today because that is an interesting profession to me. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Yes, Kate.
Kate. Ukraine.
Nice.
Yeah, 1.5 years old. Before we lived in Japan for 1.5 years. And before in Ukraine, I have 3 kids. And I have been working as a real estate agent in Ukraine for 14 years.
I have many questions about that. What part of Ukraine?
Kyiv.
Nice. I have a friend over there. I wouldn't expect you to know her. Kyiv is a big city, but Asya Chimizova. She's ethnically Russian, but she married Ukrainian, married there or moved there 10 years ago or something. And I'm a Russian studies major. I have a degree in Russian studies, so I would speak to her in Russian every now and then. She's like, "Hey, we're not going to speak Russian anymore." Yeah, and so she's been asking me to learn Ukrainian, and instead I switched over to Japanese, and we just speak in English now. Anyway, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And again, I'm going to have a million follow-up questions, so let's be friends. And my Russian is now at this point extinct. So, cool. All right, here in the back.
Austin.
Hi, Austin. Okay. Tell me something crazy about yourself. What would you be doing if your financial needs were completely met and you never had to work again? What are you doing today?
I would go travel somewhere.
Nice. Travel. All right. I'm into it. All right. So I'm a little bit free form in the way I prefer to teach, which is why I don't like the slides. The slides and I don't get along. But today we are talking about make and receive offers, but I want to check in on a bunch of things with you guys just to make sure that you're all feeling grounded in what you need to be doing and that you feel supported in those tasks. So first, here's how you spell my name. And I'll give you my phone number, and I encourage you to add me to your phone. And then if you have questions, let me know. I'm a helpful person. And this really is my last name. And this really is my first name. They're both unfortunate in different ways. And then my phone number is 801 655 3122. And so feel free to text or call me if you have questions. I'll be as helpful as I can. I'm not as smart as Cam, but I am a better person, morally speaking. And that's recorded. It is Cavan. Cavan was the same spelling. Ah, nice. I do get called Cavan a lot. And then online, I actually changed my name to Kevin Anthony because I do a bunch of comedy and that's the name I perform under because I get very sick of explaining my name repeatedly. So I surrendered and go by Kevin a bunch now too. Cool. I clipped this to my jacket and now oh, wow, you can hear that zipper too, right? How are your businesses going? Do you have pipelines?
The 360 contacts,
Nice.
have a listing.
Does that still pick up my voice okay?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
All right. Because the main thing we're going to talk about negotiations and stuff today, but a lot of it is going to if you don't know how to prospect and if you don't have the means to obtain clients, the negotiation is going to be highly irrelevant. And so we will dedicate some time at the end to talking about prospecting, make sure that you're sort of locked in on that. Have you been setting goals? I don't know what the current standard is for incoming Ignite students, but with me, we did the 4x10 where it's 10 contacts, 10 notes, 4 towards a week. What are you guys doing? All right. We
10
should.
calls a day
Okay.
and 20 doors. That's my goal.
Okay. How are the rest of you doing on prospecting goals and marketing activities?
On a team, so
What team? Nice. Nice. They're a good team. I like them.
so I've just been in marketing and just kind of go through my top 200s.
Very cool. Okay. How about you three? What are your prospecting activities looking like? Kira. Uh-huh. Perfect.
The low burner.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like people aren't going to be moving until summer.
Yeah, that's pretty
I
normal.
feel like I kind of stuck because I could keep harassing them. but I'd like to reach people I don't know, you know?
Yeah, okay, okay. We'll come back to that. That's a very common problem to have. Kate,
Much Russian speaking and Ukrainian speaking community in Cuba.
Mhm.
So I try to advertise myself as a real estate agent
Yeah.
there. At first, it's not very easy, but I hope
yeah,
they will buy something.
yeah. Are you reasonably well connected in that community?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, fantastic. Austin, how's it been going for you?
It's all my own contacts.
Okay, cool. Okay. I think I know where you will talk about during that portion then. That gives you some ideas. Okay. So for the most part, we're going to talk about negotiations today. And there's a couple concepts I want to make sure that we're all understanding. Have you guys taken a class or have an understanding of the real estate purchase contract, the REPSI? Well, I'm going to go figure out how to turn this off. But shout your answers at me. Do you guys get the REPSI? Okay. Because negotiation is in this context, we're just trying to figure out what levers we have in the REPSI that we can move. My pants keep falling down. Hold on, I think they're not like at the right belt loop. So enjoy the free show, friends. One sec. There we go. All right. Like this isn't that kind of class. Okay. Because overall concept that I want to convey about how negotiation works in real estate is informational superiority. Okay. Keller Williams has the philosophy that our negotiations are always win-win. We aren't trying to take advantage of the other party. We aren't trying to give them a bad deal so we can get a good deal. We don't pursue I win, you lose negotiations, but we do pursue what is the negotiation that makes everybody walk away from this winner and happy. The reason for that is first, it is moral and good. And secondly, the real estate community of people who actually sell houses is way smaller than you think. And you will be doing deals with them again. They will talk about your deal with other realtors. Like if you do this like hyper aggressive bulldog negotiation, you're not going to last long because realtors will know who you are and they'll respond appropriately. Also, it is trivially easy to destroy bulldog negotiators, and we can talk about that too. They're very funny and very easy to get to agree to anything. So with informational superiority, the idea is you should enter the negotiation having more information than any other party in that negotiation. And so in this case, we are talking about purchasing a house. What are some ideas of things you should know before picking up the phone, before making the offer? Shoot out your impressions.
You're buying.
Yeah, in any home transaction. So when you're selling or buying a house, yeah.
If you're buying, I would say you'd want to know if there's any flaws that you could use to your advantage.
Okay, yeah.
Know the other party's motive,
Oh, brilliant. Yep, very good. Whose motive?
the other agent.
Okay.
Well, also the seller, if they're divorcing or someone died.
Mm-hmm. So the agents and clients. Any other thoughts on this? Okay, so these are good answers, and what I want to convey to you here is the different parts involved in a negotiation and how a house arrives at its sales price. Okay, so first of all, here is an arbitrary abstract line of house prices. And so here we have $0. Technically, you could sell a house for -$. But don't worry about that. You don't need that skill. And then here is $1 trillion. This scale has to be logarithmic because I'm not putting all the lines in here. But essentially, there's an infinite number of numbers a house could sell for, but not really, because the seller is going to have 1 point. I really regret 1 trillion. We're going to put 1 million. Obviously, we're not selling a house for $1 trillion. I was just trying to make a silly point. So the seller is going to meet with the listing agent, maybe you, although we're staying neutral right now. And they're going to say, I want to sell my house for 750. And then you say, and this is not a good way to pose this question, but like, how low can you go? And they'd be like, well, okay, I would accept anywhere down as low as 675. Conversation with the seller has ever gone like this. This is an abstraction. And then the buyer meets with their buyer and they say, hey, what's your budget? And the buyer says, oh, my budget is 700, but I could go as high as 725. Okay, fairly simple, right? The third party involved is the appraiser. If they're getting a loan on the house, which they probably are, then the appraiser is also going to come in here and needs to say, oh, you went under contract for 715, and yeah, I agree that's good. Or the most likely has some range in here that they'd be willing to find. Everyone in here is a human being. And so even though the seller says my lowest 675, if you were to say, well, would you accept 674, $999? They're almost always going to say yes. And you say to the seller, hey, would you pay $725 and $1? They'd almost always say yes. The reason I convey that to you is because this is an amorphous blob that is always moving, always changing. It's not actually a hard line drawn on a spectrum. But the main thing we need to understand is the three parties involved is the seller says, I want this much. I'd be willing to accept as low as this. The buyer says, I want to pay this little. I'd be willing to pay as high as that. And in that, you're going to find a range. And at Stanford, they call this the zone of potential agreement. There's no N in the word agreement. Wait, yeah, there is before the T, but not where I put it. And so the zone of potential agreement, you've got this range of, okay, this is a working deal that both parties would meet their needs on. Don't get too hung up on this, but understand what it is, okay? There is a range where both parties are potentially happy, except, we'll talk about it. So if the seller says the lowest I'm willing to go is 725, and the buyer says the highest I'm willing to go is 710, then at least on paper, there's no deal to be had. And the best thing for both parties is to stop talking and go find different people to engage. Cool. Pretty basic here, but any questions on this? Okay, cool. Yes.
The agent allowed to say their lowest and highest as a negotiator?
With your client's permission, you can, and I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, I'm gonna table that question. Excellent question. To any information that would change the material facts of the negotiation, you don't want to give out without your client's permission, but you also want to try and get the other party to give out. So, yeah. Okay. Then the other concept I want you to understand, these are wide out concepts, and then I promise we'll get into specifics. I promise, guys. Guys, I promise, is the BATNA. This is the best alternative to negotiated agreement. So basically, to negotiated agreement. This is, if this deal falls apart, what do the other two parties do? And this comes something you said, you were talking about motivation. In all of my buyer and all of my listing consults, the very basic atomic level information I get they're slightly different. So for a buyer, what is your motivation? Why are you buying? This is, they're upsizing, they're downsizing, they're having a baby, and so they need another bedroom. They have a dog, or they want to get a dog and they can't get one in their apartment, whatever. And then the second one is timeline. Is it painful that I'm not writing these out? Are you okay with the letter T? Timeline, motivation and timeline. Timeline is when do you need to buy? And what is the reason that you need to buy at that point in time? And so we're having a baby gives a very clear timeline. I'm getting my lease ends in June is a very clear timeline. It doesn't matter when we buy, whatever. That is a clear timeline, which is say whenever is their timeline. And then ability is if you're doing a cash offer, how much money are you willing to put into it? Or more likely, if you're getting a financed offer, how much do you qualify for and how much of that are you actually willing to pay? So motivation, timeline, ability. And all of these you can go deeper on, but you must have at a bare minimum this information about your buyer. With the seller, it's the same thing, but with different letters. So motivation is the same. Why are you selling your house? Again, we're downsizing. We're another place. Few people sell their house into homelessness, or it's an investment property that's not performing, whatever. Timeline, again, when do you need to sell? This is going to match the buyers. And then ability, of course, they have the ability to sell their house with very few exceptions. I put it so it stays the same, but the ability is what are you doing with the money when you sell? Like, what happens after you sell? Because that is the money going into another house. Are you gonna 1031 it? Are you going to put it into the stock market like a crazy person? That's the, I don't have a good like word or letter for that. Because it's not their ability to sell, it's like their money. What was that? Yeah. 1031, yeah. If they're putting it into another real estate asset, then they get to defer the taxes on that. Okay. Again, this is, in my opinion, the bare minimum of what you should know about your seller and gives you a starting point for when you call the other party what to ask them about. I am a huge fan of never submitting an offer to an agent you haven't had a voice-to-voice conversation with. Some listing agents won't pick up the phone. But if you put the effort in to have a conversation with them, you're going to do way, way better. Because I'm going to give you a script. There's nothing all that difficult about it. I want one of you to imagine a client, either a real seller you have or make up a seller who is your mom. And I'm going to call one of you. Who's ready to do a role play with me?
Oh, God. All right.
You good? Okay. So just make up information. Don't fight me too hard on this just for the purpose of the script. Although in role play practice, generally you do want to fight a little bit. But in this case, we're just showing off the script. Okay. Ring, ring.
Hi, this is John.
Hey, John, this is Cavan from Keller Williams. How are you?
How you doing, Kevin?
I'm great. Listen, I have a buyer who's very interested in your listing on 123 Main Street. We went and toured it earlier today, and we would like to make an offer. I want to make sure, obviously, that we are the offer that gets accepted. And so I want to just ask you a few questions about your seller. Is this a bad time?
No, this is actually a pretty good time. I've got a few minutes.
Perfect. What can you tell me about your seller?
Well, it's a married couple and, anyway, they're just looking at a lifestyle change right now.
I love that. So it sounds like maybe a downsize kind of thing?
They haven't really decided yet.
Oh, okay. So they know they want a different house, but they don't know like what kind of house. That's fair. I've had those sellers. That's I get it. So I wish you the best of luck with that. Should be a fun shopping phase. So it sounds like most likely we're not looking at like a hard fixed timeline or anything. Like they can kind of go whenever is what I'm hearing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, they want to, I mean, of course, they want to get the most that they can, but at the same time, they do have a little bit of a time restraint, so they feel that it's probably listed at a price that'll make it move reasonably fast. I mean, hey, they don't want the thing to expire or sit out there for 6 months.
I got it. Yeah, and it is priced very well. So good job on that, John. I commend you on your pricing in a market where nobody is pricing correctly. Well done. Okay, so they're doing a lifestyle change, but there is some kind of timeline involved. Because the reason I'm asking, I do want to make sure that we're setting the acceptance deadline at a thing that'll work for them.
Yeah.
And then potentially with these buyers, we could be looking at like a lease back. Like the buyers are comfortable. And so if they need to stay in there longer, we can do it. So for example, if we put the acceptance deadline tomorrow at 5 p.m., is that going to work for them? Your sellers?
5 PM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then would they be interested in a lease back? Do they need additional time in the house? It sounds like they haven't shopped yet.
They, you know what, they haven't really shopped yet, but,
I don't know why I'm holding my
frankly-
phone. It's
frankly,
imaginary.
they would. Fine, I'll use mine. No, no, frankly, they would, they're not gonna be leasing back or anything like that.
So they're good to go.
They'll want 72 hours, to pack up and everything. And worst case scenario, they have one of the owners has a brother lives nearby. They can put their stuff in storage until they find the right place.
Awesome.
They do want to just, cut ties with the house.
Okay. So then the plan is, in terms of timeline, I think we'll do acceptance deadline tomorrow at 5 p.m. And then we will do a 3-week close with 72-hour possession. Will that work? Great. Okay, bye, lover. Cool. Now, John was being very helpful because I commanded him to. Listing agents will not always be that helpful. But thank you. You did a great job. Hooray for John.
Say I was a little hesitant about talking about the seller's motivation
Mhm.
because I felt that, like, say they're getting a divorce or, someone lost his job or something like that. I probably shouldn't be, sharing that information.
Divorce, you probably should, because there's likely going to be a judgment involved. But yeah, what you're saying is conceptually correct. Yeah. The reason I like to open with that very open-ended question of tell me about your seller is the listing agent will then make it very clear how much and what kind of information they're going to be giving you. The closed off thing, let's return to it because we'll talk about because then if they sort of close off to the negotiation has begun, and I'll talk about tactics for that. But did you see I didn't have a script. I think script was misleading, but the outline I had is what's the seller's motivation? What's the seller's timeline? What is the seller doing after the sale? And that's the outline I call with. Any questions on that? Okay. There are some other things that'll give you ideas about BATNAs. With market statistics, you should definitely know how long the seller's home should be staying on the market and how long is it on the market now. Do you know how to do that? Okay. Ignite does a class about CMAs. Have you done CMAs?
I know, Ham did, I think it was last month, I think he did a thing he did show us.
Okay.
Do a CMA.
This is beyond the scope of this class, but I'm going to give you the questions to ask to learn how to do this because this is information you should have. First of all, right now in the mid-tier price range in Utah County, we're looking at about 42 days on market is the median. And you need to go to Cam or come to me after class and say, how do I find the median days on market? It's profoundly easy. And then you will know, is the seller in trouble? Are they getting frustrated? What's going on? Yes. Yeah. There's the old way I used that back in my day, we had to do sales per month report. But now you have rapid stats, which is absolutely incredible and can give you very granular look at like townhouses in Provo between this price and this price. Mwah, I love rapid stats. The other thing I like to do is look up the agent. If you just crack them into like on the MLS, there's a form. So if it's the listing agent, you look at listing agent. If it's a buyer agent, you look at sold agent. And crack them in, look at for the last 12 months, how many homes have they sold? When was their most recent sale? And then what is the median concession that they negotiate? And so this information may or may not be helpful, but I think you should definitely know it before talking to the agent. Because if I know that you sell 12 homes a year and then your last sale was 4 months ago, you're hungry, baby. And then I know if you consistently get your clients to talk about a listing, if you consistently get your clients to agree to come in at 90% of price, that gives me an idea of how you're talking to clients and how we can potentially come in. I'm not saying, okay, then come in at 97%, but this is useful information to have. Because you should know, is the house overpriced? Is it underpriced? Is the seller going to be desperate? Like, this is all information that is super easy to get, is available to all of us as realtors, and is very useful in the negotiation. I should say potentially useful. Sometimes it just isn't. It's very fun when you have, like, you look up an agent and they've sold 4 this year, which is, that's fine. That puts food on the table. That's not like a burgeoning career, but it'll pay the bills. And they're like, I've been in this business 10 years. It's like, oh, 40 sales, amazing. Whoa. Don't do that. That'll torpedo the negotiation pretty quick. But it's nice to know, what is this agent's behavior on the market? And then if they're consistently giving huge concessions, then you know, okay, I can probably get a concession out of this guy. Questions about that?
Alright, and if this agent work with buyers, for example, we can't see all statistics. For example, he has 20 transactions per year with buyer and 1 with a seller.
Yeah, no, and that's actually useful as well. That would be 2 different searches. I meant when I'm calling a listing agent, I only look at their behavior as a listing agent. Right, and then that would actually give you an idea of them. So, like, in general, getting information that will help you in the negotiation is a good behavior. Getting useless information is a neutral behavior, depending on how much time you spend on it. Does that answer the question? Cool. I left my water bottle in Salt Lake City over the weekend. I'm really thirsty. That's all. Okay, so the 2 concepts then to understand are BATNA and ZOPA. I'm assuming you are all now masters on these 2 concepts, and we're going to go into actual negotiation tactics. Is that cool? Everyone feeling good? And does anyone have, like, why the heck didn't he talk about this? Or if you want to comment, like, I'm overweight, I already know, but you can comment it. Cool. Nobody wants to comment on my weight. I appreciate that. Thanks, guys. I feel supported. John Cusack. I'll take that. All right. Whoop. Okay. The first and best thing you can do in any negotiation is convince the other party that you are their best friend. This applies to clients, this applies to agents especially, but there is an absolutely huge, well, let's do some really quick role plays, okay? No, we don't need to role play. Just pretend I'm calling you personally. Ring, ring, you say hello. I say, hey, it's Cavan Keller Williams. How long, have you received other offers on your home? And they say yes or no or whatever. That's fine. That's very neutral. Hey, this is Cavan Keller Williams. I'm calling to kick your butt, moron. Nobody starts a call like that. But you understand that would change the tenor of the negotiation a lot. Or, hey, this is Cavan Keller Williams. How's it going, my man? And they say, oh, this and that. It's like, yeah, market, feeling it. It was such a bad example. And so while, yes, obviously you should be professional on the phone, you definitely want the agent to believe that you are their friend. And so one script I love to use is, let's do it again. Who wants to take John's place? You saw how easy it was. I'm very nice. I need a non-John volunteer. It's going to be Kira if no one else volunteers in 5 seconds. So you can save her. You can volunteer as tribute, or it's going to be Kira. You all think about what that means. All right, Kira, let's go. Ring, ring. Hey, Kira, it's Cavan from Keller Williams. How are you doing today? I'm so good. Listen, I had a buyer just tour your listing on 123 Main Street. Absolutely loved it, and we want to come in with an offer for you. So tell me, Kira, tell me what you can about your seller.
They'd be excited to accept an offer.
Okay, love that. I admit that was the base assumption I came in with. And the thing is, I really want to make this an offer that you look like a rock star to your seller. And then, of course, my buyer gets a reasonable deal. And so I want to talk about maybe the seller's timeline, what's important to them. So other than price, what is the most important thing to your seller?
They're looking to get the most they can out of their home sale.
Uh-huh, like the equity. All right. Is there any restrictions on like, do they need to close quickly? Can they wait 3 months? Like, where are they on timeline?
They have another neighborhood in mind, but they haven't started looking quite yet. So I would say in the next 3 months is about their timeline.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna cut the call there, although there's places we could have gone. That was great. So that I do like that exact script. Hey, I want to make you look like a rock star to your clients. Let's do this. Not always in the opening phone call. It kind of depends when I need the agent to open up. Sometimes when we're talking about price, there's a very, I think this is lame, but it actually works super well. If we're in the middle of negotiations and we've, the price is right now at list price, but then the inspection goes through and there are problems, and my clients say, we want you to go get us $3,000. Often come in, yep, let's do that, and ask for like 5,000. So that the agent can talk me down, and then they look like a rock star to their client. Be like, hey, they asked for 5 and I gave them 3. This tactic is lame, but if you're feeling lazy, it actually is shockingly effective. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, so inspection comes back. What's a $3,000 repair?
Oh,
They need like a repair done to
Water softener.
yeah, that's probably about 3K. They need a repair done to the water softener. I come in and say, hey, I've sent you the inspection report. The buyer wants to address XYZ. We would prefer a cash concession, and so we're looking for $5,000. What do you think? And they're like, whoa, they're always going to say no. And then you let them talk them down to 3, then they can go to their buyer and say, they asked for 5, I talked them down to 3. That makes agents feel like rock stars, makes the seller feel better, and then your buyer gets what they want. So the over ask. This is lazy, but it is effective. I was going to ask you questions about this, but ignore this for now. That's if you're lazy and don't feel like putting the work in. Cool. But the first thing I want you to do on every phone call, first point of contact, is humanize yourself. Definitely 100% tell them your name. That's the very least you can do. And then try to have some amount of human connection, because you want them to want to sell to you out of all the other the agents. Or if you are representing the seller, again, humanize yourself, because you want to be like the house that they pick, because right now buyers are very much in control of the market. It costs you nothing, and it is immensely powerful. Make the other agent literally like you. Questions on that? Yes.
So I have a question, how can we perform if buyer is in a hurry and seller didn't find the home that he wants to buy next? For example, the seller needs 3 months.
Oh, yeah. The buyers, it depends on why the buyer's in a hurry. Do they need to move in a hurry?
Yeah.
I mean, then you gotta figure it out. You gotta look at ancillary options. Somebody gets an Airbnb or whatever. Yeah, if they have incompatible goals, you need to bring in something from another direction. Somebody needs a place to live. Yeah. Generally speaking, I mean, I don't know the buyer situation, but I don't know their BATNA. Generally speaking, the buyer has 60 days to move into the property, and that's usually some play time you can get, because a lot of sellers are unwilling to sell, like actually close, until they have the next place lined up. That's a very normal problem for them to have. Although in this market, you just praise Gary, the god of real estate, that you got an offer at all. And then you say to the seller, this is the only offer you're getting for the rest of your natural life. So you take it. Okay. So step one, humanize yourself. Prove to them that you're a human and not a robot, not an AI agent. Step two, and this is kind of ongoing because you wanted to do your homework prior to calling them. You want to know what you can about the market, where the home is positioned on the market, and about the other agent. There, I get a cartoonish amount of data here for my clients, but I'm the only one I know who gets the amount that I do. If you know how long they've been on the market versus how long they should, is the home overpriced or not, then you're coming in at an okay amount of information. If you know how many agent or how many sales the agent has and how likely they are to give you a concession, you have now done more work than 95% of agents I know who make a ton of money in this business. And you can go deeper. You can look at county records. How long has the seller owned the place? What is their likely motivation based on that? There's the rabbit hole goes deep, but at bare minimum, how long have they been on the market versus what the market median is, and are they overpriced or underpriced? You must have that information before you start talks. And then all throughout, you're trying to investigate the other party's motivations, timeline, ability, etc. Now we're going to play a game. Are you ready? I want you all to have the ability to write something down. Perfect. Okay. I'm counting your phone. Your phone counts. Okay. This is a pop quiz. See if you've been paying attention to something I never said and it has nothing to do with this topic. How many feet under the surface of the ocean is the wreck of the Titanic? Here's your hint. It is more than 3,000 feet. Please write your answer. The winner gets accolades and nothing else. And if you actually know the answer, here's your chance to really shine. So yeah, no, how many feet under the surface of the ocean is the wreckage of the Titanic? And your hint is more than 3,000 feet. All right. Once Kate's done writing, then we're all in. It looked like you wrote a whole sentence. Okay. Without editorial, tell me what your answers were. We'll go through. 21,000. 3,001. 3,001. 4,000.
5,230.
Ooh, I love that. 5,000. Okay. The correct answer is 12,500 feet. Kira, I loved the 21,000. I really did. Oh, okay. That's actually pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So by giving you a hint and saying 3,000, we got answers of 3,000, we got 5,000. And those are the two ranges we got. We got near 3,000 and then we got near 5,000. What I did, and the reason you answer like that, except Kira, who watched a documentary, is that is called anchoring. By giving you the hint that it was more than 3,000, I made you less likely to give the correct answer because he said 3,000 for a reason. So it must be close to 3,000. So this is why people say don't speak first in a negotiation. That itself is not great advice. Don't anchor first in a negotiation is absolutely valid. There are also times when you want to use your hearts and your brains. You all have excellent hearts and brains. Also, what is your name, guy who came in?
Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Sorry I was late. It's on the phone with the client.
I forgive you. Tell your client hello. So the real estate negotiations are kind of interesting because the seller, in a way, sets the first anchor. The MLS has a price on it. This is assuming you're not talking about an off-market listing, which those are the exception. So here's our scale again. Here's 0. Here's 1 million. And the seller set the price right here at 500. So it's already been anchored. Yes, but there's a good chance the seller has a range of acceptance in here. And if you can, you would want to get them to set the anchor. This is the next thing I'm asking you is uncomfortable. Most agents don't do it. You can be forgiven for not doing this, but it'll make you a better negotiator. So let's go. Ready for the next phone call. You two, you've paid your dues to society. You're off the hook. I need a new volunteer. I already know who it's going to be if somebody doesn't volunteer, but now I'm not going to tell you.
Give you a hint. Starts with the letter A.
Ooh, you anchored it.
I anchored it. Yeah, I'm practicing anchoring, man.
That's a 50% chance of being accurate. All right. So who wants to have a little phone call? They've been so easy. There's no rug pull. I won't be mean in this one.
I'll do it.
Cool, Kyle. You are the listing agent. I'm the buyer agent calling you because the reason I do this is I just said traditionally the the seller sets the anchor by putting price. That's true. And then the buyer sets the new anchor by sending in an offer. In 99% of deals, this is how it's going to go. Where it's 500, buyer comes in at 475, and this is the new anchor. Does that make sense? Okay, ring, ring. I'm not going to hold up the phone this time, especially because I've been using old cordless phone. Hey, Kyle, this is Cavan with Keller Williams. Also, we're in the same office. I know. What a relief. I know. That's because, and I didn't want to tell you this, I don't ever come into the office because of a major feud with Dean Crandall. He and I get in fist fights every time, so I just sneak in the back door when I have to get something. It's rough, and that's why you haven't seen me around. Anyway, didn't call to talk about Dean, although we probably should. I want to talk about your listing on 123 Main Street. So I had a buyer. We went in there and we toured it, and we love it and we want to come and offer. Unfortunately, the buyer is not thinking that. I have already inspected the seller for the purposes of this script. So we did the timeline, motivation, billing. I got whatever information I could there. I wouldn't actually start the phone call this way. That's the conceit we're doing to save time. Okay, so thank you for talking to me about the seller. What a great and natural conversation that was. So we are planning to come in with an offer. The buyer is not planning to come in at full price. And I just wanted to ask you, like, where is your seller at accepting below price offers? Have they had a history with it? What can I do to make sure this is still a win?
Yeah, I think they'd be open to looking at it. I think they were hoping to get pretty close to asking price, but that being said, we'd love to see your offer.
Have they rejected any other offers?
So can we pause for a sec? I have
Yeah.
a question for you. I don't believe in lying, generally speaking, right? And so, but I also want to protect my client. Maybe this is negotiation right on Friday, but usually if we've had other offers, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't lie. I would just withhold.
Just withhold, just don't
Yeah.
answer it.
Yeah. And so let's come back to it. Go ahead and do what comes naturally and we'll talk about it.
No offers yet. Got a couple people that are saying that they're working on offers and maybe bringing them soon.
Sound good. Well, just help me make sure this is a win. Have you, in your conversations with the seller, talked to them about accepting lower offers?
A little bit. I told them in this market that sometimes that's important, but they're holding pretty close to asking price.
Perfect. So it sounds like you have coached them on this kind of thing. They are ready to consider these offers at least. I'm just trying to make sure that we're both going to be working.
Yeah.
Have you look like a rock star for your client here?
Sure.
Cool. Great. Then what I'm going to do is I'll talk to my buyer, and if you could just let your seller know and let me know, do they have a disgust reaction or whatever, or if there's like a range they're talking about, then let me know just to make sure we're on the same page with each other.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, buddy. I love you. Probably don't end phone calls with I love you. Oh, thanks. Don't tell Dean. So you will almost never get the listing agent to say, oh yeah, we would accept as low as X. Once in a while you will. So the key is to come in in a way that doesn't make them feel threatened by it, right? It's most likely the buyer is laying down the anchor, but if you can get the listing agent to give information up, you want to. There's also another thing that happens here. Yeah. How are we on time, by the way? We are almost out of time. All right. So labeling. The listing agent knows why you're calling. They know that you want to represent the buyer and get the lowest price you can. They know that. And so you've done your job to humanize yourself, but then you also want to make it clear that you're not trying to game them as a negotiator. And so one way to do this is labeling their emotions that you think they are feeling. And so the one I did here is, it sounds like you've done a good job coaching your seller and that they're expecting this kind of thing. I don't remember exactly how I said it because I speak extemporaneously like a maniac. But if you can label what you think the other side is feeling, be accurate here. Be like, okay, it sounds like the seller really is really interested in like bringing in that amount of equity, and you're trying to get the other party to say that's right or yes or correct or whatever. You don't want them to say you're right because that's them conceding to your barrage of pushing. But you want them to say, yeah, that's right. What you've said is correct. Then you have clicked over to, okay, we understand each other. Now let's try and set an anchor. Kyle answered how pretty much every listing agent does. It's very, very rare, but occasionally, especially if you have an agent who hasn't sold for a while and they've been on market for 3 times the days on market, you're going to have an agent who's frustrated, and you might then get them say, you know what, they've rejected offers of XYZ. Almost always, when other offers have been rejected, I get the agent tell me what those offers, the amounts were. I'd say I have 75% hit on that. It's like, well, they've actually rejected an offer of 470, and they've rejected one of 480 or whatever. And that is, of course, priceless information. What?
Why? I mean, then you know you have to come up from that because they've rejected it previously, right?
Yeah. So that they've now set the anchor for you. Because let's say you were willing to come in at 490. And like, oh, well, they rejected one at 475. We're like, oh, there's some meat left on that bone. Or, you know, you have a deal potentially. And so it's not like, that's not saying for sure, oh, they rejected 475. That means you can come in at 476. Of course, that's not what that means. But that is priceless information. Because in this case, my buyer said they wanted to come in at 475. If Kyle had said, oh, they've rejected an offer of 480, I can go back to my buyer and say, it's not happening, right? Does that make sense? Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Then the other thing, we're almost done with this process, I promise. There's actually a ton. Most of this information, by the way, is in a book called Never Split the Difference. I strongly endorse that book. And when I said most, this and a whole bunch more. Never Split the Difference is about hostage negotiation. They pursue lose because you can't say, well, you can kill one hostage. The Keller Williams doctrine is win-win. Everyone walks away happy. So bear that in mind.
Yeah. We got to kill one. That's a pretty good day.
Okay. Once we've got them to say, that's right. Once the other party has acknowledged that you understand their position, we're ready to start anchoring, actually getting real offers out there. So we send an offer 475. And then they push back. If they send you a counter, great, that's awesome. And then you can either accept or not. And then you're under contract, ding, or you're not. I am a strong proponent of, if the other party sends you a contract or an addendum that is not acceptable, do not do anything until you've spoken to your own client, which my clients, I coach them on, don't reject offers ever, ever, ever. We always counter. And then call the other party and say, listen, we don't have a deal. Let's talk about it until we do. So I've had agents who don't like doing that. And so they're like, we come in at 475, they come back at 490, we come back at 483, they come back at 487 or whatever. I hate that. You've 7 addenda, your title guy will be mad at you, but you'll be under contract. Like that's still a win in that sense. But a phone call is so much better than a series of addenda that just change the price. So we're dealing with Kyle's seller. We had a conversation. Kyle, you did a very good job not giving up the seller's info. That is a very normal response. So then we come in. Sometimes what I'll do after that is before sending in the offer 475, I'll call Kyle back. I'll say, hey, and we don't need to role play it. Hey, I spoke with my buyer. We're planning to come at 475. Tell me how you think your seller will react to that. And then they'll say whatever they're going to say, usually, oh, just send it in. Someone in the room just thought, wait, by calling him and saying we're coming in at 475, aren't you telling him that we're willing to come in higher than 475? Yeah, we're telling him that we're willing to negotiate potentially, because we are, right? If 475 is the absolute max and he says, I don't know if we'll go for that, can you come higher? I can always say no. Like, but let's talk about saying no. There are the 3 no's, right? Trying to think how to frame this. Okay. This next one is going to be a little more of a thinker. I need another volunteer. Just do your best. I will do my best to make you look good. I'm not in the business of humiliating people. Unless you watch my IG, John, you were very cool. I also think you were the star of that IG, to be honest. Who's feeling like a thinker? Let's do it. Okay. Here's the situation. Listed at 500. We came in at 475. You talked to your seller. They said, no, we don't want to do 475. I don't know, maybe they were mildly insulted because they upgraded the kitchen counters or whatever. Maybe they have a minimum, but I don't want to know what their minimum is, because then obviously I have a cheat code. But I want to show how the no's work, okay? So you're a good listing agent. So instead of just countering us or whatever, you're going to call me back and we're going to talk about, I'm the buyer agent. We offered 475. Your seller said no and did not give you a new minimum. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, John, I'm so happy to talk to you. I hope we're talking about the offer with my cordless phone that I keep. Hold on. Okay, this is how you hold a cell phone or a smartphone. This is how they've been shaped for about 20 years.
And this is Bluetooth.
But, John, I'll have to call you back. One sec. All right, I'm not going to use my hand. Bluetooth, there, I did it. All right, talk to me, John.
Sure. Well, I did I did present the offer to my clients. And frankly, dude, they